Testing.
Fire service.
Hi, Tom, can you hear us?
Oh, no. No,
Can
that's
not hear
housing
you.
ended up with a utility attorney. Oh, I
But if we
know.
can't cross, that's gonna really,
Okay.
throw off a lot of calls.
Can't hear you, Tom.
That's the bridge we're talking about right there.
Yeah. And John, what was his name? That Vlado hired.
Yeah,
The
take a
young-
look at it. I don't
So
know.
are the RFPs just now hitting the ground, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And our team was
Anyway,
putting together.
Yeah, it
I don't know if
was,
we're teaming or
it was
if
something
we're-
else, but no, John
Going on
Esper, I am
along, we're
really
submitting.
impressed. I just generally like him so much.
Yeah.
This is like the lowest chair on it.
Oh, I just ran into
You
that.
put it down and they'll go up.
I think so. I mean, we.
Well, sure, absolutely. Yeah.
Just pull up on it and then.
So, yeah.
If I'll call, make contact over there and see what's going on, because I know that would be,
Yeah.
our money.
No.
I mean, it's federal money, but
Yeah.
it trickles down, you know, and I just haven't, I don't remember seeing it in our.
Sign table that says, please lower your chairs down.
We
both
had
sides
our
before you
meeting 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I don't remember.
Well,
anything
Tim
on
Reeser, whenever he sits in a chair,
I'll-
he always.
I'll have the
drops
environmental
them
guy
all
brought
the
it
way
up to
down.
send me
It's
the
like,
RFP
oh.
and I'll forward it.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, good, we got time.
There's Tim. Can you hear us, Tom?
I can hear you.
And we can hear you. Awesome.
How are things at Shop World headquarters?
Oh,
Now we can't hear you.
Keep talking, we just can't hear you.
We can't hear you now.
Aaron, do you have to turn on his?
I don't have.
Yeah, we
any
just heard
phone.
him briefly for like a
Yeah.
couple seconds.
Yeah. Cannot hear Mr. Shaw.
One.
You come in, then go out, Tom.
One.
Is that the same thing you did before, Karen?
Mhm.
So you might have to call my cell again.
Tom, did you log in with the right browser and everything?
Yeah, maybe asking him a question is not a good idea.
I was hoping maybe he'd answer and it would come through.
Mhm.
Okay, we'll just leave you on speaker till you do that.
Okay, while we have Mr. Shaw on speaker rather than on screen, Karen, if you would call the roll.
Yes. Doug,
Yes.
Maggie,
Here,
Tom? Yes. Present via WebEx? Flash phone?
Present
There
via
we go.
multiple different forms of technology. Tom, can you hear us now on screen?
One.
Okay, we can see you, still can't only hear you on the phone, but we'll go ahead here. First item on the agenda would be approval of the agenda.
Oh, hang.
Oh,
He logged off, so we don't have a quorum at the moment.
is he still, tell me he's on the phone?
He's on the phone.
Okay, he's on the phone. So,
But you gotta be
There he is.
visible to make a vote.
yes,
Am I visible?
You
you're
are.
not only visible, but verbal now.
Testing 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay.
Yes, great. All right, well, first item on the agenda will be approval of the agenda for the April 30th, 2025 Board of Aviation Commissioners meeting. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Been moved in second. Karen, please call the roll.
Tom,
Yes.
Maggie,
Yes.
Yes.
Can you turn the volume on, Tom?
All right, next item on the agenda would be approval of minutes from the March 26, 2025 meeting of the Board of Aviation Commissioners. Is there a motion to approve the minutes as submitted?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions, additions, or corrections? Hearing none. Karen, please call the roll.
Maggie,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Doug.
Yes.
So we are hearing him through WebEx, is that
Yes,
correct?
we are.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right,
Good, good.
great. Next item on the agenda would be approval of claims in the sum of $66,362.50. Those claims were submitted to the Board of Aviation Commissioners by email prior to today's meeting. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions related to the minutes?
Other claims?
I'm sorry, the claims. Thank you, Maggie. Hearing no questions, I would entertain a vote. Karen, please call the roll.
Tom,
Yes.
Maggie,
Yes.
Doug.
Yes. Claims have been approved, which takes us to everybody's favorite part of the meeting, our director's report.
Thank you. First of all, I thought I'd just start out by recognizing the passing of former Mayor Dick Moore, a good friend and a great advocate of the airport. He certainly will be missed by not only us, but, you know, a lot of folks all the way from Washington, D.C. to Michiana. Just want our thoughts and prayers are with Jeff and his grandson Adam. Is, you know, Dick sort of worshiped that young guy. So moving on, the mayor had a State of the City address at the Learner, and aviation was mentioned. Pretty positive light, and actually we're one of the first departments that were mentioned during the speech, which normally aviation doesn't get a big nod at the State of the City, and this time we did, and it was kind of nice. Mayor mentioned how historic it is that we're building new hangars, new T hangars, city-owned T hangars, the first in over 25 years, and talked about the importance of the airport to the economic vitality of the city. So that was nice to hear that. David, our maintenance chief, attended the snow and ice control symposium in Buffalo. He just returned actually a few minutes ago. He'll be here at the meeting next month after the dust settles, and he can get his notes together and give a brief report on what he learned at that meeting. For the past 2 days, I attended a 10-hour OSHA training course, as did the rest of the maintenance folks. I think David will make it up, soon. So we've all had some additional training when it comes to safety. You know, obviously some of it didn't apply, but there's also a lot of good information, things that we need to be reminded of. We did break ground on the new T hangar project, so it's moving along slowly but surely. And because the agenda is kind of long, I'll leave my airport manager's report there and just ask if you have any questions.
Questions for Andy?
I don't have any questions, but I really would like to say about Dick Moore, he performed my wedding. And yeah, he hired me initially, and he played a big role in my professional development as an attorney, and especially as a municipal attorney. And I really feel like there can't be enough good things said about him.
Agreed.
And speaking of good things, that reminded me that Commissioner Schaaf wrote a very nice, op-ed on Facebook about, he and his Stacy's relationship with, Dick Moore, both as mayor and as friend. It was very, very nice, very, very flattering and certainly true.
I could have went on 5 more pages with positive things to say about Dick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think we can all agree on that one. Which would take us on to new business. First item on the agenda would be the recommendation to accept a quote related to liability insurance for our tower. Andy?
Okay, yeah, as usual, we handed off the quote specifications to our broker, who then shopped it out to a number of insurance carriers. Of those, they sent it to two elected to quote, one of which was the carrier that we currently have. Their quote was $600 more than what it was last year. And that was which one, Karen?
Old Republic.
Old Republic, okay. So I'm recommending to the board that we accept the Old Republic air traffic control liability insurance quote.
And the decision on war and terrorism, which has always been declined in. the
Oh,
past.
that's right, yeah, there was I think it's a $2,500 addition to that we've never
So
opted
that can be marked
for.
on the sheet there.
Yeah,
And the competing quote looks like for a bit more from Chubb.
Yes,
Okay, so this is really the lowest responsive bidder.
it
yes.
was.
All right. Do we have a motion to approve that recommendation?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
I have a question. Have we ever had a claim? I didn't think so.
Nope.
All right.
So, do you want to decline the war on terrorism?
Yes.
I think that needs to be part of that.
Would you add that to the motion, please?
Yes, I'd like to amend my motion to include declining the provision. What is it?
War and
War
terrorism.
terrorism.
Terrorism coverage. Mr. Schaaf, do you?
I second that.
That's right. All right, let's have a vote first on the amendment. Karen?
Tom,
Yes.
Maggie,
Yes.
Doug,
Yes. Motion to amend carries. Then on the motion that's amended, Karen, please call the roll.
Tom,
Yes.
Maggie,
Yes.
Doug.
Yes. Motion carries. Thank you. Mark the declination, which takes us to the next item on the agenda would be National Supply construction upgrades. Right.
National Supply is a company formerly owned by Pete Legal. They currently have a land lease with the Board of Aviation Commissioners, of which their hangar sits upon. Part of the standard language with all of these land leases were their improvements, the hangar that's owned by the private entity. They need to seek board approval before making any upgrades to the hangar. Because obviously at some point in the future, the hangar could revert to ownership to the city, and want to be sure that the work is done properly, safely, and all the proper permits are pulled and such. National Supply is buying a larger aircraft, therefore they need a larger door, a larger opening. So this would be construction to enlarge the opening and put on new doors on that hangar. So I'm asking for the board's approval for them to proceed with doing that.
Do we have a motion to approve this proposed fees modification?
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
I have a question.
Yes.
How much is our portion of it? Do we, okay, so
It's paid for by the lessee.
their lease and all that is, they're responsible.
Yeah, they paid a land lease, and I think the rate they're paying is, I think, 14 cents a square foot.
Okay, so they're competitive and everything else is on them.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Any other questions?
No.
All right, hearing none, Karen, please call the roll.
Tom,
Yes.
Maggie,
Yes,
Doug.
Yes, motion carried. Is there anything else? Nothing to sign.
No, not for that one.
All right. Which takes us next to the Elkhart Rotary Impact Club.
Right, yeah,
Canoe and kayak launch improvements.
right. As you know, the airport has on airport property along the, Christiana Creek, there is a canoe and kayak launch. I think was the former airport director and the board worked with the Parks Department to establish that very well used, launch. The Rotary has a kind of a subcommittee called the Impact Club. They're interested in taking on, working with Jameson, who's the park superintendent, taking on the project and making improvements to that launch, which it desperately needs. Where they would, work with private contractor volunteers to make improvements, both in the aesthetics and also the use of it. I think they might be changing, I think, the grade a little bit as well. So it's still in the early stages. I've been to 2 meetings that they've had. Obviously, it's not to the point yet where there's any contract or anything where there would need to be any liability insurance or anything like that. But obviously, when we get to that point, Kevin will then be involved and they're aware of that as well. But it all begins with the board saying, yes, you may pursue that goal of making those improvements. So that's all I'm looking for today is your approval to allow them to move forward and continue studying it and coming up with some plans.
Right. Do we have a motion to authorize Andy to move forward with these discussions?
so moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes.
Yes.
Just a reminder that DNR, if they haven't been notified already, they'll need to be involved in that since it's a waterway.
Yeah, they have to, any permits, anything like that, they'll have to get, they're aware. They're talking about there's some large concrete slab right at the base. They're talking about addressing, so they're aware.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Doug, is that Tony Waring's group?
No, that would be Interact. No, apparently, Jameson has also got an impact club, within the Elkhart Rotary Club.
Okay.
Required me to attend some more meetings than I've been able to over the last several months, Tom. But I think we got attendance credit for this meeting, Tom, so we're in good shape. All right, I believe we've already got a motion and a second on this. Karen, please call the roll.
Tom,
Yes.
Maggie,
Yes,
Doug.
Yes. Motion carries. Which takes us to authorization for the airport director to solicit quotes for the replacement of the south side maintenance building's roof. And
Right, the maintenance building roof has been kind of deteriorating for some time. The maintenance had made some repairs to it. We thought might get us through to the next budget cycle, but unfortunately, it didn't make it. There's water coming in and before it does significant damage, I approached the administration, the mayor's office about ways we might be able to fund outside of our normal budget because it's not obviously something that we budgeted for. I didn't know if there was an emergency fund or something that could be used for this. And the mayor's office approached the redevelopment commission attorney to see if because we're a part of the Aeroplex TIF district, to see if that would qualify for potential funding through the redevelopment commission, and it does. So the next step was I worked with the city building commissioner and airport maintenance director on putting together quote specifications to send out to a number of reputable roofing companies, ones that the city has used before. So I'd like authorization from the board to be able to send those out, basically solicit quotes for the replacement of that roof. Once the quotes are in, you would then open them at the next board meeting. and then make a recommendation to award to the one that you decide is the most responsive based on the direction of the building commissioner and our maintenance chief to the redevelopment commission at their next meeting, which I think is about 1 week after the next board meeting. So I'm asking for the board to authorize me to solicit quotes for the replacement of the Southside Maintenance Building roof.
Thank you so much. Is there a motion to authorize, Mr. Jones to solicit quotes?
So moved.
Second.
Been moved in second, discussion?
Andy, is that a metal roof?
No. It was a Duralast roof. It lasted 30 years.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
How old is that building?
Well, let's see.
Approximately.
It was an original crash fire rescue building. I think it went up in the early 80s. Yeah.
Okay. If there are no further questions, Karen, please call the roll.
Tom,
Yes.
Maggie,
Yes.
Doug.
Yes. All right, thank you. Next item on the agenda would be a lease agenda. I'm sorry, a lease amendment.
We knew what you meant.
Thank you, Meg. For farming of our 44 farmable acres.
Right, after the new farmer and our maintenance chiefs drove the airfield to kind of familiarize the farmer, with the areas he'd be farming, they identified some other areas that currently are not being farmed and decided that they should be farmed, so we don't have to mow those. So we were able to find some additional acres. So the number of acres that was on the original agreement has increased from, what was it, Karen?
125.
It was 125, now it's 169. So we're asking the board to approve this addendum to that lease, changing the number of farmed acres from the previous number to 169 acres. We should also point out too that the lease fee is $200 per acre now, when it had been 100. So putting it out for quotes bid was a good idea.
Not only will it save us in expenditures, it will also create more revenue.
Yes, sir.
Do we have a motion to approve this addendum to our current lease?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none.
I had one, but I'm going to pass on it.
Be that way. Karen, please call the roll.
Tom,
Yes.
Maggie,
Yes, and good job.
Yes. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda would be a lease agreement for hangar number 22.
Right. Hangar 22 is a hangar that is owned by the city and has been leased to Hans Ashbaugh, alias EB Aircraft LLC, for the past 15 years. That lease is due to expire in September. He's interested in continuing to lease that hangar. He's made a number of improvements at his expense, I might add, both by sealing the ramp and then also some other things on the interior. Of course, he's responsible for paying all the maintenance on the interior, and we do the exterior. But he's been a great tenant for all these years. So we're asking for the board to approve the lease that you have. It's a 5-year lease with a 5-year extension. The lease fee is $1,000 a month for the first 5 years, and then it increases to $1,500 a month for the next 5 years. And I've done some market research and determined that that's a fair market price for that hangar.
Excellent. We have a motion to approve a lease agreement for hangar number 22. and Oshpa doing business as
EB Aircraft.
Aircraft LLC.
So moved.
Second.
Questions, discussion?
How much was the old lease?
Well, he'd been paying us $800 a month in cash. And then we also had a rent credit that we were doing based on some improvements that he had made.
That
15
you
years
would
or-
talk to me about?
Right, yeah.
So good. So we're getting more money. All right.
Any other questions? Hearing none, Karen, please call the roll.
Tom,
Yes.
Maggie,
Yes.
Yes. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda would be a donation fund expenditure.
Right, of course, one of the goals of the board is to promote, getting youth interested in aviation. The BAA, the Experimental Aircraft Association, has a Young Eagles event a couple times a year. This year, they're also gonna be doing a chicken barbecue sale at the same time to raise money for their club. They do a lot of things, that the city can't do. The airport donation fund was set up to assist with these kind of things. The balance is currently over $9,000 in the airport donation fund. So I'm asking the board to approve $2,500 to be from the airport donation fund to be used to offset fuel and food for the Young Eagles, upcoming Young Eagles event.
We have a motion to approve this expenditure.
So moved.
Second.
And the question, obviously, with this donation, it declines what our balances that we're carrying in that fund. How frequently do we actually get donations into that fund from the community?
Well, probably a couple times a year. Every once in a while, the opportunity might present where I might see the opportunity to explain to somebody what we do to try to promote aviation to youth. And just ask that someone might be willing to make a donation. And oftentimes they do. The airport tenants are usually pretty open to those kind of things. It's all voluntary. So that's how, if you don't ask, you don't get.
Yeah.
So just simply ask and people will,
Andy,
will
we
help.
got several thousand last year from the Dexter Axle and all. Man,
Wow.
that beat that up quite a bit.
That was, that was up to them. It was a voluntary donation that they were happy to do.
Thank you.
What's the date on that?
There's no date.
No date yet.
I don't know if it'll be an annual event or
For
not.
the event, the Young Eagles?
May
May
17th.
17th.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I thought you meant, she mentioned it.
All right. Are there any further questions? If not, can you please call the roll?
Tom,
Yes.
Maggie,
Yes.
Yes. Donation is approved. Takes us to item H, professional services agreement for runway 1836 pavement inspection services.
That would be
Fine
Paul.
folks from BFNS. Paul.
Yes, this is the construction services agreement for the runway. So this, of course, is subject to award of an FAA grant for the project. You already made a motion last month to advertise the project. We'll get bids in at the next board meeting. So it actually runs in the paper this week. So the bids will be here and open at the next board meeting. We don't have to take action on this, but we do need this. The FAA now requires a signed agreement for the grant application. Normally we wouldn't have signed it in the past until you got the grant, but now they require it. And so we just make it subject to the grant funding. And of course, Kevin's review. So this is for your consideration. The total services there with all the resident inspection and all the shop drawing review and all that jazz. It's $137,820. And that's that's basically 60,000 of that is the on-site resident people. And then 34,000 of it is the observation part where they do the shop drawings, do all the change orders, the progress payments to the contractor, all the financials and all the bookkeeping, checking the certified payrolls, all those sorts of things, the wage interviews, those sorts of things. Then there's a record drawing, an airport layout plan update that's required, the final construction record, and then of course all of the grant administration. 22,000 of it is grant administration, which is not only turning in the pay request to the FAA for payments, but it's to keep you on the up and up with them. So that's that. And then reimbursable expenses on here. We've got $800 for the legal notice. And then the mileage on the observations, 1,170. The RPR, resident inspector, they're a little closer. So that's, but more trips, obviously. 2,250. And then the acceptance testing. So this is a third-party acceptance testing firm. Terracon did the geotechnical explorations on the runway. We usually use the same firm for materials testing that did the geotech, just to tie those two together. But that they're not specifically named in here. We can name the sub-consultant after we sign the agreement. But we have a placeholder in there, $28,000 for that. So all the total of the reimbursable expenses of the agreement is $32,220. This is all covered with the FAA grant, discretionary, other than 5%. So 95% sped, 5% local. I'm sorry, 5% local and state. So the match got reduced for this year. It's a good year to get a discretionary grant if we get one. Of course, there's no guarantee on a grant.
Right.
So that's this. The only thing that's not included in this professional services agreement that is required in addition to this to get the grant is the independent fee estimate. And that's done by a third-party engineering firm that doesn't practice in the area in which the services are performed. So another aviation firm, but not practicing in Indiana. So we have a couple Ohio firms, we have a couple Kentucky firms, one Michigan firm, and we'll usually just set up a review. So what happens is we send them a blank man-hour justification, has all the lines in it, but no hours or no hourly rates, and the scope from the document. So they don't have any of the fees. And then they send an agreement, and it's usually about anywhere from $3,500 to $5,000 to check the fee. They come up with their own estimate. They come up with an amount. It gets sent directly back to Andy at the airport. We don't see that. The airport reviews it. If our number is below their number, no problem. If our number is more than 10% than their number, then we have to sit down and have a conversation about it and say, what assumptions did they make? Doesn't mean it's dead. It just means we need to make sure that our fee isn't off and, based on their feedback from their calculation. So the FAA requires that now. It is grant eligible, so it'll be turned in on your grant as well, but it will be required to be submitted to the FAA with the grant application too. So we'll, if you approve this evening, we would also then ask for you to look, subject to legal review and subject to the FAA grant. We'd also ask you to consider the IFE expense in addition to that, which would be another $3,500. So,
Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Mr. Schaaf could wake up from his nap.
Second.
Any discussion? I know Tom was enthralled by that presentation.
sorry, Tom.
5.5 minutes.
Please, keep it talking.
Sorry, Tom.
Any questions for Paul? Thank you for the detailed presentation, Paul. A good deal of information that we needed to have to consider this.
Well, I figure if you're spending that kind of money, I at least ought to talk for 5 minutes, right?
Yeah. Okay. If there are no further questions, Karen, please call the roll.
Tom,
Second. Yes.
Maggie,
Yes.
Yeah. Motion carries with a little bit of pain.
no, Robert.
Next item, pain or levity, I'm not sure which, would be privilege of the floor. Do we have any?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir, Mr.
at the
Shaw.
last meeting, I complimented Director Jones on his beautiful 1980s shirt that he wore. But today, wearing his sleep shirt, I think is inappropriate for a meeting like this.
Would you like the board to censure him?
No, certainly not.
Or just help him to tell him to clean up his act?
OSHA meeting today.
Well,
He was probably out pulling weeds or something.
I
Well,
spent,
when you look at the professional dress from the rest of the people at that table, I don't know what to say.
I spent all day with the blue collar workers at the OSHA meeting, so I didn't wanna, I wanted to dress the way they were dressed.
Okay, I understand.
All right,
That's all I had, Mr. Chairman.
thank you. Any other privilege of the floor? I'm hoping no.
That's a no.
That would be a no from board member Marinoka, which means that we can now move to a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Been moved, seconded, we are done.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Good to see everyone.
Always a
Good to see you, Tom.
pleasure.
Although Karen, I can't see Kevin. So maybe next
Hiding
week.
under the table.
Okay. All right.
All right,
He is here.
he is present.
they just randomly did.
Thanks, Tom.
Who knows?